Today, in Part 1 of Canto 58 of Yoga Vasistha book, we will discuss in detail about the subjects like Sri Ram's fundamental question, freedom from triple passage, etc.
Welcome, focused learners. As your guide here, speaking to you directly from the perspective of the sage Maharishi Vashishtha, I really invite you to lean in and pay close attention today. We're going to exclusively explore the exact literal, philosophical, and spiritual truths of just two very specific verses. We're stripping away all those modern distortions to reveal the absolute pure essence of consciousness. So let's dive right in.
Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with Sri Ram's fundamental question, analyze the semantics of verse 1, and then really unpack the threefold passage. After that, we'll explore ultimate liberation, and finally wrap things up with our philosophical conclusions. All right, Section 1, Sri Ram's fundamental question.
So looking at reference 821, my brilliant student Sri Ram poses a question that absolutely strikes at the very heart of human suffering. Observing this relentless, cyclical nature of creation and destruction all around us, he basically asks, how does this totally overwhelming illusion of material reality actually come to an end? He's looking for that definitive spiritual reality hiding right beneath the illusion, and honestly, that sets the perfect stage for our deep inquiry today.
Now let's look at the exact Sanskrit syntax of verse 1. Sri Ram is questioning the very nature of samsara, the worldly illusion. He specifically asks how bandha, which is this intense psychological bondage and attachment, is subjected to cheda, meaning the severing or ultimate liberation. Keeping to the literal translation here preserves the absolute pure intent of the text. It's really all about questioning the mechanics. How exactly does the mind stop attaching itself to the objects it perceives?
Moving on to Section 2, the semantics of verse 1.
This part right here brilliantly illustrates just how precise ancient Vedic thought actually is. Sri Ram didn't just throw words around. He carefully chose terms that describe worldly illusion not as some static, fake world, but as a continuous, completely active bondage of the mind. When we dig into the exact semantic roots of the words he chose, words that literally denote this relentless flow of sensory entanglement, it bridges this ancient text directly to how your own mind gets trapped in everyday anxieties. It's not passive, folks, it's a highly active process of delusion.
Okay, Section 3, the threefold passage explained, also known as Trivid Parchada.
So in verse 2, specifically reference 823, I provide him the answer, and the literal translation is clear. True liberation is achieved solely through the destruction of the triple passage. Once this passage is completely eradicated, the only thing that remains is the pure, entirely undisturbed essence of the self.
The absolutely crucial term we need to focus on here is Trivid Parchada, which translates to the threefold passage or the triple bondage. Think of it as the very cognitive framework that boxes in pure consciousness. It literally tricks the infinite soul into feeling small, finite, and completely trapped.
So, what makes up this passage? Well, it consists of three distinct parts: the seer, the seen, and the act of seeing. On a spiritual level, this triad completely fragments non-dual reality, creating this totally false illusion of separation between you and the universe. And the life-useful takeaway here? It's honestly profound. The root of all human anxiety is this exact mental division. Whenever you feel stressed or trapped by your circumstances, it's simply because your perception is caught right in the middle of this threefold passage. Which brings us to Section 4, Liberation and its Spiritual Significance. To successfully untangle your consciousness from the Trivid Parchadaha, you've got to follow a very specific, sequential path. Step 1 is recognition. You have to clearly see the illusion of the seer, the seen, and the seeing playing out in your own mind. Step 2 is relentless spiritual inquiry. You really have to stop and ask yourself, wait, who is actually perceiving right now? And finally, Step 3 is ultimate liberation, which happens when that false triad completely collapses back into unified awareness.
There is a really stark contrast we need to understand here. Being bound by the Trivid Parchada means existing entirely in a state of ignorance and deep attachment to material outcomes. On the flip side, freedom from this passage is characterized by absolute, crystal clear clarity and true liberation. The original Sanskrit text makes it undeniably clear. Destroying the illusion of this passage is literally the only way to realize absolute freedom.
All right, let's wrap this up with Section 5, Philosophical Conclusions and Research.
So, what are the main philosophical conclusions that any disciplined seeker absolutely needs to take away from this? First, bondage is purely a cognitive fragmentation. It's entirely caused by the Trivid Parchada. Second,
Liberation isn't about somehow magically altering the physical world around you. It's entirely about collapsing this false triad back into a state of unified, pure consciousness.
For your continued research, I strongly encourage you to map out this key terminology and root your focus deeply in verses 1 and 2. Memorize this threefold structure because it serves as an essential advanced cross-reference for the rest of Canto 58. And before we close, I want to leave you with one final, pretty provocative thought to ponder. If the seer, the seen, and the act of seeing are all just an illusion, who is it that's truly living your life right now?
On behalf of the Vedmata AI family, it is a humble request that if you found our presentation informative, then please share our video as much as possible so that the authentic knowledge of Indian Vedic texts can reach the masses. Come, let us all together become participants in this knowledge yagya. Har Har Mahadev.